My name's Ginnette Minarik. I'm a hairdresser. I've been doing this for 10 years. My mom was a nurse growing up. My dad was a welder, and he did that for a long time. Then he ended up getting hurt, and from then on, I don't really remember because I was younger. My grandmother lives in Costa Rica. That's where I was born, and she had a hair salon. She was a hairdresser, and I would just remember running around the salon while she was doing her clients. I remember the smell of perm solution, color, and she had the hooded dryers, I remember. And so it's just something that I've always been around. My mom would always tell us or ask us, what is your passion? Always. She never told us what to do specifically, like you should be a nurse or you should be a lawyer. But she always said, follow your passion no matter what you do. We lived in Louisiana, so that's why she was afraid for me to move to Los Angeles and go to hair school. And so that's when I had to tell her, like, this is what I'm doing, and don't be scared. And then she just knew that she had to let me go. She didn't try to stop me, but she was just afraid. She didn't understand why I had to go to Los Angeles to go to hair school, not just go to one in Louisiana. High school was a little bit interesting for me because I switched schools in the middle of high school. So I started school in Louisiana, and then I finished school in California my last year. And I finished early because I wanted to get a job so I can start saving money so I can go to hair school. So I graduated early, but I do have fond memories. The first year I was the president of my class, and I was a cheerleader, and that was fun. And then when I moved to my other high school, I didn't really know anyone, but I enjoyed that also, just kind of being the fly on the wall in a new school. I wasn't afraid of it. I always got good grades because my parents didn't allow us to get anything less than a C, but I was very smart in the way that I figured out how to not really have to study and still be okay. So my sister and my brother, they're like straight A students always, but they always studied all the time. Or I was like, I'll just kind of do it like this and get a B. And I was okay with that. When I was in high school, I was freshman class president, and I liked to be in cheerleading. I did that for 2 years. But what I really liked to do, I volunteered myself to be the makeup and hairdresser for the theater club. And I had never even gone to hair school, but I did that anyway. And so that was really fun. Ever since I was in probably middle school, I always liked to do hair and do makeup, and I convinced my friends to let me do their hair for all the school dances. I was the girl that got dressed last because I was too busy getting everybody else ready. Yeah, ever since I was in middle school. When I was in high school, I already knew what I was going to do or what I wanted to do. I thought to myself that I didn't need certain things, like math class. I didn't know at the time. Yes, now I know as an independent contractor how important math is in my life, but I didn't care about math because I was like, what does math have to do with hairdressing? Nothing. So I didn't care. And so now if I could do a redo on those kinds of classes, I would do that again. But it helped me then with other classes as well. Like art class I was very into because I knew I had to comprehend and understand how that all worked. And geometry I did actually like because when you do haircuts, you have to understand geometry. I didn't go to college, but now knowing what I know and being in the industry for 10 years, if I would have my business degree, it would really help me as a hairdresser. So even still today, I am contemplating going to college to get it. When you're thinking about signing up for a beauty school, it's important to decide which type of school you want to go to and then figure out what are the requirements to get in because every school is different. There are community colleges that host cosmetology programs, and those are the most popular because they're the most cost effective as far as out-of-pocket cost. There's other schools that, like the one I went to, that are branded. So I went to Vidal Sassoon Academy. There is a Redken Academy. There is a Paul Mitchell Academy. There is a Nevada Academy. And so those are branded, and then you learn the techniques and skills under that umbrella. I knew that if I wanted to be something really big, I had to give myself the best start and go to the best school available. Community college cosmetology programs are very basic, but you get a very good education on how to pass your test. we had a certain amount of weeks where we focused on one subject, for instance, haircuts. Then for the next 6 to 8 weeks, we did hair coloring. Then for the next chunk of time, we would do state board testing practice. And then the rest of the time was spent working on clients. So clients come to hair schools and they pay cheaper than a hair salon because as a student, you take longer to do it. But so you do get to have some hands-on practice, but not as much as you would in a salon. Something that surprised me going through beauty school was that because you're clocking in hours, if you miss hours, then you won't be able to graduate on time. And most schools charge you a fee for when you miss hours. So imagine going to a program for 10 months, full-time, 40 hours a week, and really trying not to miss any school. You have to be very disciplined to get to school on time and don't miss any days unless you're really sick. When you go to hair school, sometimes you think you'll just only have to worry about doing hair, but a lot of it is being able to take written tests. And a lot of times people that are hairdressers aren't very good at taking tests, so it's something you need to be able to focus on. I finished high school early, and because I realized that at Vidal Sassoon you had to pay cash before you even start, and how much it was. So I worked and saved my money and wrote a check for it. It's crazy because I was so young, but I did it because I knew that's just what I wanted to do, and I am driven like that. It was a lot of money. I could have bought myself a new car or put a down payment on a house, but instead I chose to save it so I can go to school. When I was in beauty school, I really wanted to focus on the time and my energy to be in school, but because I was supporting myself, I had to be very conscientious of money that I spent and very frugal, so I wasn't allowed to go shopping or go out to eat or anything like that because I didn't want to have to get a job because I wanted to not be tired when I was at school. A lot of times girls go to school from 9 to 5 and then they work somewhere at night from 9 to midnight or 5 to midnight or whatever, and I didn't want to have to do that. To become a hairdresser, you must finish cosmetology school. In every state, there's a different amount of hours of education that is required. For California, it's 1,600 hours. To go to hair school, you have to have your high school degree or diploma or GED. You have to, in some schools, you have to write letters of recommendation, or some schools require you to take an aptitude test to be accepted in. Some schools require you to pay cash up front for the entire program before you start. Some schools allow you to do financial aid. Some schools allow you to do different times, meaning you can do full-time or part-time, day school, night school, depending on your schedule. You then, after that, have to pass a hands-on test and a handwritten test. And without that license, if you don't pass your test, you can't work legally and make money. I've been very blessed to have my mom and my sister in my corner. When I have a long day at work, I can come home and vent to them about certain things, and they are my soundboard because I do trust their opinions. When I was trying to figure out what school to go to, I knew that this was the only career I ever wanted to do, so I wanted to give myself the best head start and the best opportunities, so I chose the best school to go to, which was Vidal Sassoon Academy at the time. And so I had to move to Los Angeles to go there because it's the only school in the country. To get into Vidal Sassoon, I had to do 2 formal face-to-face interviews. I had to do an essay. I had to do a written test. I had to do an aptitude test. And I had to pay up front before the entire program before I started. The school admissions can see that I was really serious about becoming a hairdresser, and I wasn't going to be messing around and goofing off for the next 10 months, so that's why they allowed me to go to their school. At Vidal Sassoon, it was not guaranteed that you would get in because it's very sought after school, so sometimes there's a waiting list versus other schools you can just sign up and you're automatically enrolled. So I've been working behind the chair for about 3 years, and I realized that there was more that I wanted to do. I didn't know if I wanted to stand behind a chair all day, every day for the next 30 years. And so I started exploring my options of what are some other things within the hair industry that I could take on. I realized that I have a passion for teaching, and I got a job at a cosmetology school. And I worked there, and I really, really enjoyed the way that teaching and giving back to students made me feel. Once I became an educator and I realized that I did really enjoy that, I decided to step back from being behind the chair full-time and be a part-time educator and also a part-time hairdresser. And so I did both for a very long time, and which is still what I do today. But now at this point in my career, teaching is a bigger aspect of my day-to-day work, and then I am behind the chair 2 days a week. Getting my first job was not very difficult for me. What I did was I had a resume that I made for myself, and because I went to a prestigious school, I knew that any salon owner would really take me serious if I was trying to get a job there. So I went into one salon, and the owner looked at the resume in front of me and said, "When can you start?" And then I said, "Tomorrow," and that was my first job. Looking back now, I think that I could have handled that situation a little bit better. I was so eager to start working and just get into a nice salon that I didn't really know what I had signed up for. I wish I would have taken the time out to ask for a formal interview so that I can decide how much I was getting paid, how do I get a raise, what are my work hours, when it was an assistant position, so when I could go from being an assistant to a commissioned stylist. The biggest obstacle for me was to really be okay with making mistakes and understanding that mistakes are learning lessons, really, right? So what would happen to me is if a client didn't like her hair or love her hair, I would get down on myself. So it was hard for me to be able to accept that you're not perfect right out of school and you will make mistakes, and all you can do is learn from those mistakes. I started realizing that it was bothering me when I started taking my own clients. When I was an assistant, I had a safe buffer where if there were any mistakes made, the person I was helping always made it better. But when I became my own person, there was nobody to fix my mistakes. And so I would do clients, and then they would be unhappy, and I didn't know what to do. But so it upset me because one, they would either not come back, or two, I didn't know how to fix it, and so I was stuck. You have to just understand why you made a mistake, really try to learn from that mistake so you don't make that mistake again. After 10 months of having basic training, you're nowhere ready to be a superb hairdresser. Continuing education as a hairdresser is very important. A lot of times my mistakes were something I could visually see, like the highlight didn't look like I wanted it to look, or my client's haircut wasn't exactly what she had asked for. But sometimes I felt like I did good on that client's hair, but they never came back. As a hairdresser, I help clientele that come and see me have styles that they like and have a look that they're looking for. So it's my responsibility to make sure they feel good about themselves as far as their outward appearance when it comes to their hair. In my career path, I've been an assistant, I've been a commissioned stylist, and a booth renter, which is what I am now and will probably be for a very long time. And the reason that is because I like to be in control of the clientele that I attract and the clientele that I see. And the way I do that is with my Facebook, my Instagram, my Yelp page, and my website. As a hairdresser, I do haircuts, I do hair color, I can do bridal updos. I service men, women, children, brides, bridesmaids, and sometimes I do hair for editorial work, which means for magazines, and hair shows. As a booth renter, you usually just pay a monthly or weekly fee for your chair, and it's like renting an apartment. You're free to do whatever you want in that space. Depending on where you're at in your career, you can become a commissioned stylist, which means you split your profit with the salon owner, and in return they help you build your clientele by marketing for you and making sure that people are coming in their doors for you. Usually you don't have to worry about buying color, meaning the back bar area where they have color and shampoo. The salon provides that for you. As an independent contractor, you're solely responsible for getting your own clientele, doing your own marketing, doing your own taxes. You're practically an independent business person. So at that point, you're a little bit further in your career when you're ready to take on that responsibility. And the most important one, or the most popular, is when you're first starting out to become an apprentice, so that you can really get a feel for how the salon environment works. The benefits of being an assistant, which is actually the path I first chose to take, is that you have someone to teach you everything. So if you have any questions throughout your work days, they are there to guide you. They're almost like you're their protege, right? So they'll teach you anything you want to know. In return, you are their assistant, meaning you help shampoo their clients, you blow dry their clients, you check out their clients. So in a way, it's not really a lot of responsibility on you, but you get to be in the mix with somebody that's very busy. And so you get to see at what it's like to work at that caliber, but it's not on your shoulders. One of the myths that are in the hair industry is that if you're good at doing haircuts, you'll be completely booked with a full clientele, and that's not necessarily true. A very important aspect of it is being able to relate to people and talk to different people from all walks of life that come and visit you in your chair. You have to be able to relate to a teenager, a stay-at-home mom, a working professional, a man, a female, an elderly person, if you want to be able to attract all different kinds of clientele. Some people that I also work with, not only my clientele, is the front desk of the salon of where I work. It's important for you to be able to have a good communication with that person because they do help run the salon. Also the salon owner and my coworkers. We do work together, but we don't really rely on each other to make money. But we do want to keep a good atmosphere in the salon because if you don't have that good relationship under the same roof, your clientele can feel it. There's a sales rep that works not in the salon, but they get products for you. So it's important for you as a hairdresser to understand who is in your territory and what they have to offer you. My physical workspace is a station. And at the salon where I work at, it's actually a pretty fancy mirrored dresser that has drawers and a cabinet, and inside there I keep my tools. Within a salon, most of the time there's a color storage area where each stylist has their own space where the color is stored. As a booth renter, you usually have your own locker or something that you can close. As in a commission salon, it's open to everyone to borrow and use, but it is in a certain room away from the clients. I get to be artistic, but I'm not artistic as like a drawing or painting, but I do get to experience that feeling when I do hair, so that's why I like to do it. What motivates me is my passion, first and foremost. I am completely in love with what I do, so because of that, it's easy for me to get up every day and do what I have to do. I don't ever feel myself dragging to go to work or anything like that. But also the other factor that drives me is my family. I have a daughter, and so I want to be a good example for her because I want her to see that you can work hard and achieve your goals and follow your dreams as long as you're consistent and you don't give up. Part of the hair world is you need to be able to understand and accept the fact that not every single client you touch will come back to you, because a lot of times it's about personalities, meshing, or communication skills between two people, and it really has nothing to do with the hair. So once I accepted that and understand, like, that's okay. Like, I did give her a nice haircut, but maybe she didn't like the environment of the salon, or maybe she didn't like my price point of what I charge for something. And so you just have to learn to accept that. And once you do, then you can move on from it. The best moment I remember in my career since I started was when I worked at the cosmetology school, and the entire student body they knew that I was auditioning to become a Redken educator. And the best part was that I got the call when I was under the roof, and the whole student body was cheering for me, and they were so proud of me. And it wasn't about me necessarily, it was because they saw that if you want something, you can achieve it, and you just have to work, because they saw me do from day one when I told them, I'm gonna try to become a Redken artist, and this is what I have to do. And so they watched the whole journey until the moment that I actually became one. So it was, for those people in that moment, they saw that you can achieve your dreams if you just work hard enough. So it was a Sunday. I was in the building doing hair and doing my clients like I would be any other Sunday. And that Sunday was different because there was an event happening in the building, and what was happening was that the creative director for Redken had come to San Jose to host an educational event. And because I was in the building, I was in charge of opening and closing the door for her. So in one of the mornings that she was here, I just took some time out to introduce myself to her and ask her some questions about her work. I wanted to know how she comes up with the looks that she does, because she is the innovator within the Redken company. And I think within that conversation, she saw something in me. So she said to me, "Have you ever thought of being a Redken educator?" And I said, "No." And she said, "Because it takes one to know one. And I see that in you." And I was like, okay, then I'll do it. One of the hard truths about this industry is that it takes a long time to get where you ultimately would want to be. There's no way that you would ever get out of school and immediately start making a lot of money. So you have to be patient with understanding that it takes time to build a clientele and to build yourself as a hairdresser. To be a hairdresser, it's important to be able to multitask. You have to be detail-oriented. You must be able to have an artistic eye, understanding how color works. A lot of times when you're beginning as a hairdresser, you're not sure how much money you're going to make because you don't know who's coming in the door. So for me, when I know, or when I feel the most successful, is when I can gauge how much money I'm going to make within a month prior to the month that it actually is. And I started realizing that I was becoming more successful when I did less clients for more money. So the way that I do that is to strategically plan which clients come and see me in certain time slots on certain days. There's so many more avenues within the hair industry other than just working behind a chair in a salon. I've had the opportunity to become Redken Artistic Educator for Northern California. And with that title, I get to travel the country in Northern California and help salons grow and help their hairdressers become better hairdressers. There's also a Redken artist. A Redken artist is a contracted stylist that gets pulled to go in different directions depending on events that are happening all over the world, which I was before becoming an artistic educator. Another avenue that you can take within a corporate company that is in the hair world is you can just work within development of products and techniques and things that are going to be launched in the future. So at that point, you won't really be doing hair anymore, but because you're in the industry already, you have a better leeway to get into those positions. There's a small group of people, they're called freelancers. So a freelance stylist is a stylist that doesn't necessarily work behind the chair. They do still do hair, but not in a certain spot. So they travel and do hair depending on where they're pulled to go. For instance, they could be called to do hair for the Oscars, or they could be pulled to go do hair for New York Fashion Week. So a freelance stylist isn't necessarily tied down to a certain salon. They have the ability and the freedom to travel and do hair for different events. I have seen or heard of some changes that might be happening within the hair industry. Some states have started to take away their licensing testing. California has not. I'm not sure if California will ever get rid of their test, but I know some states are just requiring you to go to school, graduate, and you can automatically become a hairdresser. So I'm not sure if the entire country will do that or if it'll just be certain states. If I can do it again, or if I was to do it in a different way, what I would do is go to college first and get my business degree and then go to hair school, or I would go to hair school part-time and college part-time, and which would take a little bit longer, but still, in the end, you'd get the same result. Be open to everything. Say yes to any opportunities that come your way, because it's better to try something and decide you don't like it than to regret never trying it and that opportunity has passed. I am where I am today because I've never said no to any opportunity that was ever given to me, because I understand and realize that I could always go back to where I was if I didn't really like it. A lot of times people that do celebrity hair work for a brand name company like Redken or like Vidal Sassoon or Wella or Aveda. So if you want to catapult your career to that level, the best thing that you can do is get in contact and get in with a certain brand, depending on what that brand does. That's the best way to get there faster. So I was on a work trip, coming home from the East Coast to the West Coast, thinking about my journey as a hairdresser. And I thought about all the times that I struggled and all the times that I fell, and I just thought to myself, I wish someone would have told me, don't do this or don't do that. So within that moment, I just started journaling on my laptop, which then now turned into a book that I have written for cosmetology graduates. From being involved in education, a lot of students have come back to me with the same type of questions, the same questions I even had for myself. So that's what that book is about. I wrote the book because I realized that a lot of my students would graduate from hair school and struggle with the same exact thing, which is being patient, being business savvy, not understanding what type of salon is the best environment for them. And so I wrote the book because they would always contact me and ask me the same questions all the time. And so I felt like I'm just gonna write a book for these people, because if they're having the questions, the same questions I had, how many people that I've never met are having those questions? And it would break my heart to see a cosmetology graduate who had just spent 10 months of their time and money on education, and once they hit the workforce, they don't understand what it's really like, and so they give up. Some of the perks of being a hairdresser is that you get to make your own career path, whether that's standing behind a chair 7 days a week or 2 days a week, 2 hours a day or 12 hours a day. You can become an educator, you can travel, you can be a freelancer, you can do weddings. So I love the fact that you have so many different paths you can choose within one umbrella of an industry. From a monetary perspective, I feel very comfortable with where I am now, and it took me 10 years to get to this place and a lot of bumps in the road. I am blessed and lucky enough to be able to support myself and my daughter on my own. I don't need anyone's help, which was always a goal of mine. I do live in Silicon Valley, so I do have to rent a home still, but if I lived in any other part of the country other than New York City, I would be able to afford my own house, to maybe even build my own house, which is a good feeling for me because I know that I am financially stable for my future and my daughter's future.